Cosmic Awakening, 1991, Peru, Journey into the Unknown. Sacred Valley of the Incas. By Makāula Nakae. April 23, 1991, Rubamba Valley. Episode 6, UFOs Once Again and On to Cusco. As I was waking up just before 4 a.m. and rubbing my sleep-filled eyes to get ready, several loud gunshots suddenly rang out. Startled, I peered out from a gap in the curtain to look down and saw several individuals who looked like police officers marching back and forth along the road carrying machine guns. Tadashi took out his video camera to monitor the situation through the curtain gap, but since things quieted down for a while, we resumed our morning preparations. The moment we did, however, another loud volley of gunfire echoed through the air. Catching each other's eyes amidst that scene, we muttered, "What kind of outrageous country have we come to?" We finished getting ready and headed up to the rooftop restaurant, still feeling uneasy about what was happening outside. Looking up, the sky had not yet broken. It was still a continuation of the night. Several groups were already eating at the tables, and it was only natural that the conversation turned to the gunshots we had just heard. Apparently, there had been some sort of police pursuit or crackdown in the immediate vicinity of the hotel, and when we looked down from the rooftop, a few police officers were still wandering around the hotel's perimeter. Finishing up that morning commotion, we quickly prepared ourselves and hurried down to board the bus for our flight to Cusco. Standing in line under the watchful eyes of police officers to board the bus, waiting our turn at the very rear with Tadashi, for those few lingering minutes, I looked up at the dim, insufficiently lit night sky and noticed a UFO hovering there once more. For some reason, unlike the night before, I recognized it immediately. That UFO was rotating in small circular motions, just like the previous evening. When I pointed it out to Tadashi right as he was placing his foot on the bus step, he went out of his way to turn back and look up at the sky, but once again, he couldn't spot it. The bus then started moving toward the airport, and I sat in the back seat, half asleep, gazing at the passing scenery. The city was still wrapped in quiet, with few people on the roads and barely any cars. In a park within the green median strip of a major avenue, I could see people taking a stroll through the crisp morning air. Then, just as it had the morning before, as we approached the slums, tears welled up in my eyes once more. It was a strange feeling, as if my body was crying all on its own. Deep down, I began to suspect that somewhere within these slums might lie a deep connection to a part of myself I had yet to discover. It wasn't that I particularly liked the city, nor had tears fallen when witnessing tragic sights in other regions. Therefore, I could only conclude that these mysterious tears were connected to an unknown facet of my own being. If I wanted to find out why, it felt as though my only option would be to return to this place one day and uncover the truth. At that time, I didn't yet deeply believe in past lives, nor had any experiences occurred to unearth such memories. Thus, assuming past lives even existed, I merely figured there must be some sort of connection. While lost in such thoughts, the bus passed through the airport gates and parked at the edge of the expansive parking lot. We spent the time waiting for boarding inside the bus, and as I sat in the cold morning fog, a slight sense of unease settled over me, eventually melting into a natural silence. The Aero flight bound for Cusco was painted in a vibrant shade of orange, giving it a somewhat festive air. The aircraft took off into the fog-veiled morning sky, heading straight toward Cusco, the ancient capital of the Inca Empire. Through breaks in the clouds here and there, the towering peaks of the Andes began to emerge, their summits capped with white snow and shrouded in morning mist. Beside Tadashi, who was furiously recording video footage, I chatted with a female participant from our tour who happened to be sitting nearby. Compared to the long journeys we had endured thus far, a 1-hour flight felt remarkably brief, threatening to end right in the middle of our conversation. Before long, settlements with reddish-brown tile roofs near Cusco began to appear, prompting everyone to shift their gaze toward the windows simultaneously and voice their awe at the sight. Shortly after, the plane landed amid a striking contrast between the reddish-brown townscape and the lush green earth. As our arrival in Cusco drew closer, my restlessness grew, and a slight tightness developed around my chest. I found myself unable to voice the cries of wonder shared by those around me, and by the time the plane came to a halt at the terminal, I had already begun to suspect I might be suffering from altitude sickness. Entering high altitude and trying to function normally was agonizingly difficult. I let everyone else disembark first, finally mustering the heavy effort near the end to stand up. Walking slowly and deliberately to keep my balance as I made my way down the mobile stairs. The moment I stepped through the aircraft door and placed my foot on the ladder, the brilliant, blazing high-altitude sun beat down mercilessly. Walking slowly down the stairs, setting foot upon the soil of Cusco, and looking slowly around, I found that the mountain ranges of Cusco, seen for the very first time, felt gentle and quiet enough to vaguely remind me of nature back in Japan. Among our tour companions, some were jumping up and down with joy, while others looked up at the sky with gentle smiles. Everyone seemed to be releasing their individual thoughts into the sky of Cusco, and it was certain that no one could hide their awe and excitement. After such a protracted journey stretching from Narita Airport through San Jose, Los Angeles, Miami, Lima, Nazca, and finally Cusco, reaching the capital of the Inca Empire naturally left us, all overwhelmed with emotion. Yet, because I felt unwell, I lacked the innocent, joyful, and delighted lightness of the others. Instead, I was gripped by a strange shortness of breath and an ungrounded, vague sense of anxiety. Despite having finally made it this far, my restless mental state left me just barely managing to walk without collapsing. To the Sacred Valley, Urubamba Valley. Inside the airport grounds, soldiers carrying firearms patrolled alongside large police dogs, a sight completely unimaginable and non-existent in Japan, which left me slightly startled by the reality gap. The air was so dry that even movement didn't produce sweat, and the sunlight was intense, casting sharp black shadows upon the ground. We were introduced to our local guides, Alex and Carlos, who would be leading us through the remainder of our journey. Having studied abroad in Japan, they spoke remarkably fluent Japanese, which provided a deep sense of reassurance for the road ahead. On the flip side, however, my physical condition remained poor. While listening to their briefing, I had to summon all my willpower just to keep from slumping over onto the floor. Leaving the airport and heading toward our two small tour buses, we were met by a crowd of children acting as street vendors. Pushing baskets filled with souvenirs, they blocked the bus entrance and persistently pressed us to buy things. The women on the tour, worn down by their relentless persistence, ended up buying necklaces, while I purchased a box of coca tea bags. Because the children were so adorable and affectionate, some of the women began handing out candies and colored pencils they had brought from Japan. Immediately, a whole new group of children appeared out of nowhere, clamoring persistently for the same items. In the end, to prevent the children from starting a fight, one of the women distributed the souvenirs from Japan fairly by tossing them out the bus window. Amidst all this, our mountain of luggage was loaded into the luggage compartment of the bus in the blink of an eye by porters, and leaving the wildly waving children behind, the bus departed straight toward downtown Cusco. The city of Cusco, once the capital of the Inca Empire, sprawls across a high-altitude plateau, 3,360 meters above sea level. Its name originates from Cusco, meaning navel of the world in Quechua, the ancient official language. The Inca Empire is believed to have begun in the early 13th century. According to oral myth, Manco Capac, the son of the sun god Inti, the messenger of the creator god Viracocha and the first emperor, emerged alongside his sister Makāula from the island of the sun on Lake Titicaca. Seeking fertile land to establish a city, he threw a magical staff, and wherever the staff struck became Cusco, the birthplace of Inca civilization. Its history is exceptionally ancient, playing a pivotal role as the center of the Inca world. The Inca Empire reached its golden age, known as its peak, from the mid-15th to the early 16th century. Later, in 1533, Cusco was occupied by the Spanish conquistador Francisco Pizarro, leading to the collapse of the Inca Empire and turning Cusco into part of the Spanish colonial territory. During the subsequent Spanish invasion, the Inca stone pathways were destroyed, and Spanish architecture was constructed directly on top of them. Yet, astonishingly, despite repeated major earthquakes that subsequently demolished the Spanish townscapes, not a single stone of the Inca masonry was ever dislodged. Our bus drove along pathways interwoven with such miraculous Inca stonework. Bathed in the blazing sunlight, the city looked bright, and compared to the people of Lima, Cusco's residents appeared filled with carefree, natural joy. The tragic visage of domestic terrorism surrounding hotels in downtown Lima was almost entirely absent. People lives in a reality entirely different from the day before. The town exuded a refreshing, classic exotic charm, and here too, time seemed to flow very slowly and gently. We stopped for a break at a hotel restaurant, whose backside doubled as a military barracks, but my physical condition remained poor. A faint anxiety? An unfathomable restlessness, a premonition of something, a sense that something frightening was about to happen. How should I put it? Unlike the rest of the tour members, I felt incapable of pure joy or enjoyment, as if I had turned into someone entirely different from my usual self. I doubt I even had the mental bandwidth to wonder what that inner turbulence was all about. That short break concluded swiftly as we sat in the dim restaurant sipping coca-tea, and we boarded the bus once more to depart for the Urubamba Valley, known as the Sacred Valley of the Inca Empire. Leaving the streets of Cusco behind and slowly climbing a mountain road winding in gentle curves, the entirety of Cusco gradually came into view. Long ago, the entire city of Cusco was laid out in the shape of a puma, the sacred symbol of the Inca Empire. Designed with meticulous urban planning, the capital's layout mimics a mountain lion. In Inca culture, the puma symbolizes strength and holiness, representing Pacha, the earthly realm, in Inca cosmology. By contrast, the condor represents Hanan Pacha, the celestial realm of the sky, while the snake represents Pacha, the subterranean water realm. Cusco's design reflects this threefold worldview, positioning the city itself as a sacred entity. The head of the puma corresponds to Sacsayhuaman, whose zigzagging walls of gigantic stone blocks are said to symbolize the puma's teeth and jaws. Positioned at the heart of the puma is the center of Cusco, the present-day Plaza de Armas, which formerly served as the Inca palace and religious epicenter. Important temples and structures were similarly mapped to the tail of the puma. The scenery along our advancing route was beautifully balanced, with endless expanses of uniformly colored, unblemished brown roofs stretching deep into the distance, sparkling brilliant white where they reflected the sunlight. The exposed earth of the cliffs jutting out beside the road was pinkish and tiny crystal, like fragments contained within the soil, glittered in the sunlight. Crossing a mountain pass where such rock faces wound back and forth, an endlessly spreading green horizon suddenly appeared, stretching out as far as the eye could see. To be continued. Watch and listen. Watch the cinematic video trailer. Listen to the full podcast now. Explore the archive Cosmic Awakening Volume 1, 1991, Peru, Journey into the Unknown. Sacred Valley of the Incas. Volume 2, Ascension 2012, The Golden Alchemy. Part 3, The First Contact. Join the journey. New episodes drop periodically. Each chapter delivers a tight, hyper-focused 10 to 30-minute hit of real-life experiences, perfect for your daily plunge into consciousness exploration. Subscribe to support your inner development. Thumbs up to help push our channel through the algorithm. Comment below. Share your thoughts on today's episode.